Hello everyone and welcome back to another video here on Sam's Crafty Castle, and today we are continuing on with our Halloween cards. I am not going to have videos for all 10 Halloween cards that I'm making this year. I don't think. We're just going to run out of time, and it's going to be time to start sharing Christmas stuff, but we're getting there because I think this is card number 4 out of 10, so I'm about halfway through all the ones that I need to make for this year, but we're going to end up having to save some for next year, I think, which is not really bad because it gives me a head start on next year's Halloween videos then. But so today I am kind of doing exactly what I said I wasn't going to do this year, and I am going to do a more autumny Halloween card instead of an actual like Halloween card. Um I had really wanted this year to try to keep everything like very Halloweeny and less autumny, because a lot of times I do kind of Halloween cards that are a crossover. But this little autumn bear set is one of my like absolute all-time favorite like autumn fall stamp sets, and I really wanted to use this set for something this year. So this is where we're at. We're getting this kind of autumn Halloween mix card now. Um, so I was gonna stamp this little bear, but I remembered that I actually had some little bears that I stamped out last year. So I went ahead and I just grabbed out one of the ones that I had stamped out last year, because why stamp it again? The one downside to making that choice is I knew I kind of wanted to color it with colored pencils. And the paper that I had used last year to stamp all the bears on was my marker paper. So it's not the best paper for my colored pencils, but he still comes out very cute in the end, and that's the important part. So I do like to color like critters with colored pencils, because I feel like colored pencils just sort of naturally give them a fur texture without me really having to try super hard, which is really nice. Um so I do like to color my little critters with pencils, and I don't do anything too crazy here, coloring wise, because like I said, it's not my usual like pencil paper. So there isn't much I can do. I'm a little limited on how much blending I can do and all of those kinds of things, because colored pencil likes a paper with a little bit of tooth on it. And this paper is my very smooth marker paper. So it doesn't lend itself to blending quite as nicely and all of those kinds of things. So I have to be aware of that a little bit while I'm coloring this little guy. And I kind of didn't get the color combination right at first. I didn't really have anything in mind. I was just kind of figuring it out. But the fun part about colored pencils is that if you have a color and you don't like it, like when you have markers, you have to kind of, if you have to like correct a color, if you will, you have to kind of think about like how you're gonna fix it, because your colors are gonna kind of mix. That happens with color excuse me. That happens with colored pencils, but to a less degree. Um it the colors mix still a little bit. Like you're gonna get a different looking color if you layer colors on top, but it covers up a little bit more. Pencils are just more opaque than markers, so you can do that a little bit more. And I think color correcting it's a little bit easier with pencils than markers. But I eventually got my shadows where I wanted them and figured out, and then I just kept going. I always color markers, pencils, watercolors, whatever I'm using. Not that I do watercolors much, but if I am doing them, I always color dark to light. That's just my preference. There's no like rule that says you have to do that, and a lot of people do recommend going the other direction, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's really just personal preference and what works for you. And if I color the whole thing, I have a hard time like figuring out where the shadows would go, which sounds silly because like theoretically, using the lighter color first should help with that. But for some reason, it just makes my brain stop being able to see them. So this is the compromise, and we go this way. I also find that it's a little bit easier to figure out the blends that way. But a lot of people say the opposite is true. So it is very much personal preference and what you feel comfortable with, and you can adjust any technique to fit um that method, whatever method works for you. So just oh, and then I'm doing something cool here, so I want to talk about it. I finished up my little bear and I finished coloring his little face in. And I so like I said, I don't it's not a super like toothy paper. So I could only layer and blend so much. So when I was done and I needed to sort of flatten out the color a little bit more and sort of like finish it off, if you will, I used the personal color blender pencil to just sort of like smooth everything out and finish off the last little bit of it. And you can see here I found a couple weird spots that I didn't like, so I just kind of went back in with my darker pencils to sort of clean them up and make the shadows look a little bit more like I wanted them to look. But that blender pencil just sort of helps, like if you were using it on a toothier paper, because again this paper wasn't super toothy, so there wasn't really much work for it to do. It'll help finish like pressing down the tooth of the paper and help flatten out all your color and stuff, and finish everything out and leave it looking super nicely. So it is a very handy tool to have. You can also do it with a white pencil, which I actually do a lot, because I tend to go very dark with my color blends. And if you do it with a white pencil, it'll add white on top and it'll mute out a little bit of the color and lighten it up a little bit. Where the blender pencil is more of like a clear situation and will not change your colors as much. So like I was happy with the color on this little bear and I didn't really want it to get like lightened with the white. So I used the clear one. But like 99.9% of the time I tend to go a little darker than I actually want with my blends, and then I'll use the white to sort of fix it. Not that it needs to be fixed, um but that's what I'll do with it. So now I'm just coloring in his little shirt. I decided I was gonna do like a blue and gray color scheme, which is hilarious because when I first was making this card in my brain, it was gonna be very purple. This is one of those cards where like a lot changed in the process of me making it. It was started out and it was gonna be like very Halloween purple, and there was gonna be spider webs on it. And by the end of it, none of those things happened. Which is not a bad thing. It's just how it is. So, but it all worked out. So this is me getting out the orange because I used the orange for the pumpkin, duh. But I think there was originally going to be more orange and purple on this card at one point, but now it's just for the pumpkin. And I went with blue and gray. And I also have been playing a little bit with trying to get comfortable drawing and doing patterns a little bit more, because I never do that, and it's kind of a fun concept. And I follow a lot of like, I shouldn't say a lot, but I follow a few like coloring accounts on Instagram, just people that do like coloring books and stuff, and they're always doing really fun patterns and all that kind of fun stuff, and they'll post tutorials on like how to do them. And it's been piquing my interest lately, so I've been wanting to try that myself. So I decided, because this is a fall card and like flannel is kind of a fall thing in plaid, and I love plaid actually. It's like one of my favorite patterns. So I decided to turn his little blanket into like a gray plaid blanket, which then is going to come back in at the end when we're like starting to put together the actual card. So I just took a very light gray pencil and I colored in the whole thing because I didn't want the blanket to be white. I wanted it to be gray. And originally I was going to do like 2 colors of stripes in the blanket, but in reality that blanket is actually like very small and didn't give me a ton of space to like work with. So I ended up just taking a darker gray marker, and then I just sort of tried to follow how I thought the blanket was like laying against him. and then drew little lines, little dark lines in, and then made like little squares basically. And we ended up with a pretty cute little plaid blanket. Like, I'm pretty happy with it. Especially for that really being the first time I'd ever even tried it. So I was content with that, and we're gonna have to play more with that. And like I said, this one was small, so it's not super detailed or anything like that, which I think took out some of the intimidation factor of it. But the hardest part was like with it being the blanket, is it was kind of curved around him, so I had to kind of account for all of the little curves and stuff. So it's not perfect if you look at it super up close, but it was still I thought it was cute, and I was still really happy with how it came out. So speaking of plaid, now we're going to go on to some stenciling. I don't know if y'all remember a few years ago, I know I mentioned this, but I have a little bit of an addiction to plaid stencils. I had so many. I did destash several of them because I had like 5 different plaid stencils, and I was like, this is a bit excessive. And like, if a company came out with a plaid stencil, I bought it. And I was like, let's just pick some favorite ones. So I did. I went down to just a few favorite ones. And this one is from Newton's Nook. And yes, it was still in the packaging because, yes, this is the first time I'm using it. But this one was very easy to use. And it's only 2 layers. And it was, of all of the ones I had and the amount of time I had to try to film this video, it was perfect. So we are stenciling away. I just have 2 gray inks. I don't remember what they are off the top of my head. I want to say it's Stormy Sky and Soft Stone, but that could be incorrect. But they will be down in the description because I do have it written down. I just don't have that in front of me right now. One was very easy to line up. I wasn't sure about it at first because it wasn't like quite making sense to my brain when I was first looking at it. But once I actually did it, I was like, oh yeah, this makes sense, and it tracks, and it came out really cute. The only thing I would maybe change is I might have actually done the soft stone all over, like ink blended the whole background, or use, I don't think I have any of that though, or use the cardstock if I had it. I don't think I do though. I could have used Whisper cardstock though, but I would have used like a gray cardstock or like ink blended the background gray too, just to make it a little more all over gray. But it still looks cute with the white, and I'm still happy with it. I'm not unhappy with it. But that's the only thing I would change. Just to, like I said, to make it more of an actual, like, gray plaid. And if I had done the ink blending, because then after I was, like, thinking that in my head, I was like, well, if I would have done the ink blending or did it on gray, then the lighter gray stripes wouldn't have shown up. But they would have, because it would have layered, and it would have made the lighter gray stripes darker, because it would have just, like, layered on top. I don't know if you guys remember when like layering stamps were really popular, and one of the ways you could get away with not having a million ink colors with them is to like double stamp things to get them darker. It would have been the same concept if I had done the ink blending. So I also found that little pumpkin uh just thing. It was something that I had stenciled, and I'm pretty sure I used it on the Autumn Bears card I did last year. But or the other part of it on that card. And that was something I had stenciled last year. I just used, I'm pretty sure that was also Newton's Nook stencil. Again, I don't have that listed in the description down below because I don't remember for 100% sure that that's what that was. But I did the pumpkins, and then I did them in the foiling gel, and I foiled them. And like I said, that was last year. If I remember, I'm not promising it, but if I remember, because I'm not uploading this video today when I'm recording this, if I remember, I will try to link that video somewhere, either in the end card or like in the description or something. If it's not there, feel free to comment and remind me to do it, because I will gladly do it if I forget. So now I am cutting out a little circle for my bear to go in, just to like not let him get lost in all of the background stuff that's going on. And the other thing that I kind of wanted to mention with this card is that I'm usually big on putting a greeting on the outside of the card. I don't often leave that off. But in this case, I just didn't have a Halloween greeting that I liked that could go on the front. So I had this very old set. I'm pretty sure it's Taboo. Again, I'll have it all listed down in the description below. I just don't have it in front of me right now. And I just use that giant Happy Halloween and I just stamp it in the middle of the inside of the card, and it's totally cool. I also used a dark card base for this, so I had to put something in the middle anyway, like to write on. So I just stamped it on there, and it just added a little something something, and it still gets the Halloween in it. And plus, not to mention, the Halloween just didn't fit on the outside because it wasn't a very Halloweeny card on the outside, so I just put it on the inside. And then, because I did a goofy, because I wasn't really intending on putting that on the inside, I made it a top folding card, and that doesn't fit in a regular Misty. A side folding card will fit open in a regular Misty. Top folding cards do not. But luckily, I still have my big Mega Misty, and I was like, well, I can use that. And because it doesn't really get used that much anyway. But I was like, I can use that. So they're handy to have if you do a lot of top folding cards and like maybe stamp stuff on the inside. It's definitely, like I said, I don't use it a lot, but it does come in handy at times. So I've finished the inside now. And then we're going to just pretty much at this point, it's everybody's favorite time to just glue everything together and finish everything up. So I'm gluing the background down, or the plaid background down. And I'm going to glue the little pumpkin strip down. And then I'm going to add the little stitch circle with my little bear inside of it. It took me a little while to figure out where I wanted to put that. And then I add the bear, and then I'm looking at him, and he's kind of floating a little bit, and I wasn't vibing with that, so I'm gonna get out another light gray pencil, and I just add a little bit of like a shadow underneath him. It just makes him feel like he's less floaty. Um, I don't do this all the time. Like if I have a colored circle behind an image, a lot of times I won't ground them. Like that's what that's called. Um, but when it's a white circle, for some reason, it always just feels like it helps to add a little grounding to the critter or whatever that's in there. So it looks like they're like sitting on something and not just floating everywhere. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below. I'll see you again soon, and have a crafty day.